Hey, it's Jonathan here at the Center for Coaching and Leadership, part 3 in our series today, how to get them to own the problem. Hear this all the time. How do I get them to own the problem? Meaning take that problem from, wherever it's at right now, run it through the whole process to get it solved. So that's where we're at. We're on video 3. What I would offer to you, we're in this process, and by the way, I'm showing you all these pieces of the process. We're sort of exploding this process a little bit here so you can kind of get a sense for everything that goes into it. When we do these in real time, it'll go a little bit faster because we just move a little bit quicker. But right now we're breaking this stuff apart because we're in this collaborative process of problem solving. Here's a problem. Right now it might not be the problem. This is often the presenting problem. We're not even to the core problem yet. This is just like the what happened sort of problem, right? There's usually things that are underneath that. So the last time we looked at this, we were working on the solution piece. We looked at the problem in video number 1, and today we're going to be on to the implementation. The implementation. Here's the thing to think about when we're thinking about implementation, meaning they're going to go do something. All right, they're going to take the solution. They're going to do something with the solution. That's what we want. What we want to do, right? Because implementation is such a problem for so many of us for really good and really not good reasons. Implementation is usually the issue. Usually the issue isn't like we're stuck on a problem. We're just like we have no idea what to do solution-wise. It's usually not the problem. Usually the problem is when I implement this particular solution, it's going to be difficult, or I foresee it as being challenging, or I'm not quite ready, or what if this happens, and we get really worried about things. So that worry, those little barriers there to solution, to implementing a solution can stop all of the forward progress. And you go and you check with this person, like they came up with a solution, and then like a week later we see them and we're like, hey, whatever happened with that thing? And they're like, oh man, I was just so busy. Couldn't get it done. Busy is not the problem. All right. So what we want to do instead, to give this thing some teeth so it can dig in a little bit, is we want to establish accountability right inside of the conversation, before they go. Okay? So that's where we're headed today. We're going to talk about accountability piece. Not accountability necessarily, but baking in the things that we need to do accountability if we need to later. Right, so we're going to bake all that in now, setting the stage. And ultimately, I don't think we really want to do any accountability stuff. That's less fun. What's more fun is we get clear about what we're doing and by when and stuff like that, and then they go and do it. That'd be even better. So in the step 1 that we looked at a couple weeks ago, we identified the problem. Key to this one is the mindset, which is we're going to allow our team member to have a problem, meaning we're not going to solve it for them necessarily right away. Instead, we might deploy some questions here to get started so that we can short circuit the solution process that most of us jump to a little bit too soon. Right? So we're going to hold back our solutions here at the beginning. This is how we get them to own it. All right? This is how you do it. Right? So is it less efficient than just telling them what to do? 100%, right? But when we tell people what to do, we're not building independence, we're building dependence. Okay? So step 2 is the solution. And what I offered you at that time was for them to own the solution, they have to be in charge of the solution. I want them to be the director of the solution process. That's what I want them to do. So in this stage, problem stage, we hold back our stuff. All we're doing is kind of identifying the problem, figuring out what's going on. In step 2, what we're doing is facilitating, not offering necessarily, but facilitating ideas and alternatives here in step 2. Okay? Now, facilitating doesn't mean we just like kind of roll over on this stuff necessarily. We are kind of challenging this stuff. What's making this right? What might get in the way? Right? We're really challenging these alternatives that our team members come up with, because that's what gets us to the really good solutions later, right? Don't just take the first one that comes along. And now this week we're into step 3, which is implementation. So they had a problem, they came to us, we collaborated together, yes, came up with a solution, right? Went through a whole alternatives thing, came up with a solution, and now it's implementation time, okay? And sometimes this gets dropped in the conversation. Like, we think the conversation is about figuring out what the problem is and figuring out what to do about it. We're missing like half of it if we do that. We're missing steps 3 and step 4, which we're going to do next time. So here in step 3, we're incentivizing implementation is what we're doing. Incentivizing. And so how do we do that? We make that which is usually invisible visible. Right? So we're going to ask, get this, more questions. This is, again, a theme here, what the coaching thing looks like. A lot of questions, because it's not us making the commitment to do implementation. It's them, right? That's making that. So here's one of my things, right? We go, I might say something like, I didn't write this here. These are just some examples, by the way, of some questions that you could ask, or statement down here. But you could say, sometimes we'll say at the beginning, we've identified a solution alternative, we've articulated what that is, right? And we start talking about like, how are you going to do that? What's the implementation? And I might say something like, how do you feel about this alternative? How do you feel about it, right? And what I'm looking for is, I don't even really care like what the words are in response. What I care is about the energy and the body language and stuff. That's what I care about, because that's telling me something about how they view this solution. So we might start with, like, how do you feel about this? And they're like, good, right? Good. I feel good. You ever heard that from people, right? And you pick up on that, and they're saying the word good, but they're communicating to you there's a problem. And so we might drill into that a little bit. I love this one. Hey, tell me, imagine like a 1 to 10 scale, okay? 10 being like fully committed to doing this. Where is your commitment level to getting this done? It's like a 7, right? These are the sort of responses. And I hear this a lot, which is why I tease it, right? I probably do it myself too, to be honest, right? But when we hear something like that, what is being communicated is, I'm not quite there yet, committing to doing anything about it. And if we let that go, we're like, oh, 7, that's pretty good. Good luck, right? They're not going to, and then we're going to go back a week later, and we're going to say, how'd it go? And they're going to say, wow, man, I just got so busy. Darn it, just couldn't figure it out, right? Couldn't get it done. So instead, I want to handle that right here in the moment. Like, we don't want to let that sunset on us. Like, we want to get after it. Okay, so we might say, if they're giving us the indication that they're not committed to doing this, okay? We might say something like, tell me, what do you think is, preventing you from implementing? What's getting in the way here? I'm sensing a little bit of hesitation, and I'm curious if there's something that might be getting in the way here, something that maybe we haven't explored yet. Because I'm going to pick up on it and call it out here. Let's just say their commitment level, you said, and this is what happened a couple weeks ago. I asked somebody right in the room there, a workshop full of people, and I said, what's your commitment level 1 to 10? They're like, I'm like a 9. And I said, and it was I'm like a 9, strong. And I went, awesome. Then I went to this next piece. I said, well, when? When is this happening for you? When does it make sense for your schedule? And then we're quiet because I want them to respond. And what we're looking for is a date, not a like soon, right? Or like this week or something. This week might be okay. Or like probably upcoming, right? I'll probably have this done relatively quickly. Like that's not going to work for us. We need something like it's by the end of the week. Is it like today? Is it like the end of the week? Is it like, what do you think here? Because I want them to say, it's for sure I'll have it done by the end of the week. And in the end of the week, I'm going to say something like, so for like Friday. That's what we're talking about. And they're going to say yes. Okay. Then I might drop down to, depending on that answer, I might drop down to something like this. So is there anything that might, I don't know, like might get in the way of you meeting that commitment for next Friday? Now here I said from meeting the timeline. Sometimes I like to throw in meeting the commitment because they're making a commitment, right? And this is something I want to highlight because this is a big deal. Is there anything that might, prevent you from meeting that commitment? And they might say something, I might say, is there anything else that might get in the way? Because I really want to make sure that we have cleared the path for implementation, that there's nothing getting in the way. Because I don't want to hear about how busy we are, somebody wasn't around, somebody's on vacation, right? All this sort of stuff that comes up that we talk about. If it's particularly challenging as an issue, like if it's a big thing that they need to implement, I might ask them, like, it feels like this might be kind of big. Is there anyone else who could help? Or who else could help? Or who else can help with this, right? All sort of variations of the same thing. Now, it might be me, which is fine. They might say, actually, I could use some help from you on this. That's great because they're still directing the problem resolution. They might say, no, I got it, right? Or they might call out somebody else, you don't know. But if it's particularly big, I might ask for that. At the end, I might poke them a little bit because I want to set them up that there's going to be something that happens later, and that later is a follow-up. So I might say something like, I cannot wait to hear how it goes. Then they're thinking like, oh geez, now I got to actually do it. Because Jonathan's going to ask me about it, right? Something like that. And the answer is, yeah, I am. I am going to ask you about that. In fact, asking you about that is what we're going to do here in step 4 next week when we talk about wrap up. Okay. So why are we doing all this, right? It's like, man, this is like a lot of work. Remember. The big deal is these are all strategy, sort of practices that we can group up under the 3 core strategies, which are the strategy of building capability, confidence, so that we can improve capacity. This has nothing to do with like me just being nice or something, even though I think I'm nice. I like to be nice, right? I like to be supportive. Like I like these things. This is about performance. This is always about performance. Coaching is about performance. And what I would submit to you is, and you've heard me say this before, I keep saying it. I just keep saying it forever, that when we focus on building capability, that when we focus on helping our folks grow their confidence, when we do those things, the result of that is we get capacity improvements, meaning the amount of high work, right? This is the amount of inspired work. This is the good stuff that we can sustainably produce. Okay? So what's the homework this week for you? If you're, I just can't let you like run away. We got stuff to do, right? We got work to do here. Come on now. Here we go. We want to, where we're headed with this, why we bake the accountability is because we're going to relentlessly follow up on the commitments that are being made. Okay, that's what's coming next. We can't really do that though until we set the stage for accountability, which is what we were just talking about here. So I don't want to end the meeting, okay? I don't want to end it until we have the next step detailed. I'm just not going to end the meeting. All right, now if we're really at a crossroads here, I mean, obviously I'm being a little bit, joking around a little bit, right? That's what I do. But really, I don't want to like we're not like leaving until we know what's coming up next and by when and stuff like that. Because otherwise we haven't done anything. Like we haven't like solved the problem yet because we don't have a plan for the implementation piece. The next thing is that if there's like issues around that, I want to encourage you to press a little bit. It's okay to say, you know, if you say like, let's go back up here. Let's say that you say, okay, all right, here we go. When are you committing to doing this? And they say, so we ask this question, when are you committing to doing this? And they say, okay, well, man, I got to really like take a look at my schedule and stuff because it's so crazy right now, man. I don't even know if I can get this done this week. I don't know. I'll tell you what, I'll just take a look. Hopefully I can get this done pretty soon. Okay, that is that's just a bunch of, I don't know what that is, but we're not done yet, if that's the answer I got. So I might say back when something like that comes up, like, oh, let me just I'll work it in when I can. You know, what I'm going to say is something like, hey, it sounds to me like you're pretty busy, right? And I totally get that because like a lot of us are like super stretched right now. One of the things that I am committed to is making sure that that we as a team, that we're functioning at the highest possible level. You know, I'm after excellence. It's kind of a big deal here for me. And so one of the ways in my mind that we get to excellence is by making commitments to get stuff done to each other, to ourselves, right? And so like just considering all this, that you're busy and stuff like that, I totally understand. Like when does it make the most sense to fit this in? Is that like a this Friday thing? Maybe you need an extra few days, or what do you think? So we go right back into getting it because I want them to say, okay, Jonathan thinks this is a big deal. I need to commit to something. And they say out loud, yeah, I think I can get it done by Friday. That's okay. It's okay to push on this stuff. All right. Now, we're not going to be dogged and weird about it, right? I wouldn't recommend that. But what I want to do is push on it. If they're really like, I just can't tell you, I can't figure it out, there is something else going on that we may need to explore. Now, this may not be the right time to do that, right? So we might kick them loose and come back to it later. But I'll tell you, if there's a lack of commitment to getting something done, it means there's a problem. I'm not really clear about the solution. I'm not really sure this is the right solution, even though I told you it was. I don't really know where to start. You know, what if they get mad at me? All these sort of things could be things that get in the way. Okay, so next and final, we're going to move on to step 4, which is right here. Look at that. Step 4, the wrap up. Ooh, it's going to be a good one. Can't wait to see you then. Hope this has been helpful for you. And we'll check back with you. We'll do wrap up coming up next.